This is Giving the Game Away, an attempt to shine light on areas of the modern sporting world that aren't talked about that much. We had the idea to do a podcast, and we originally just said to each other, right, let's interview some sports people about their mindset for approaching elite sport. But as that idea has grown and come on, we've realised that there is just so much to be encapsulated in the world of modern sport that we could talk about. And so each person we interview will try and reflect a different corner of that world.
We've interviewed a whole range of athletes from football, cricket, rugby, basketball and more, but we've also tried to speak to people from within sport in other areas such as broadcasters and agents and psychologists, and we hope that the interviews shine a light on areas of sport that you may not know that much about.
It's so good today to have on Tymal Mills, who has gone from a 13-year-old who hadn't even played cricket to becoming one of England's most exciting players and fastest bowlers ever. Instead of playing 4-day cricket, he now goes round the world playing the different T20 franchises. And in 2017, for just 6 weeks of his work, the Royal Challengers Bangalore paid £1 million.
Tymal's success is even more impressive when you consider at 22 he was offered retirement after doctors discovered he had a rare spinal condition. But Tymal's determination to make a career out of cricket meant he turned down the retirement offer and adapted his game to limit the impact of the condition. It really is a fascinating story, and we're looking forward to hearing how Tymal managed to go from near retirement to England international $1 million player.
So Tymal, thank you so much for coming on. You are someone who's reached the top of their sport, and as a result, you're now going around the world, chasing the sun, playing all the different T20 franchises. But what is so interesting about your story is that, if I'm right in saying, you hadn't even played cricket at the age of 13.
Yeah, no. So my story, my journey into cricket is obviously not the standard one. I didn't grow up playing cricket. So I grew up in a small town in Suffolk, and around there, cricket isn't a big sport. Definitely didn't play at school. I just went to kind of the local state school, whereas it was more the private schools that played cricket. So yeah, cricket just wasn't accessible to me. It wasn't part of my life growing up. I was mad about every other sport: football, basketball, rugby, athletics, anything. But I got into cricket really late. It was pretty much I was at school one day and my mate played in a midweek league team on a Wednesday night, and they needed an extra player, and he asked if I could play. So that was my first real actual cricket game. They got me some whites, and I just played in some trainers, and that's what got me involved in cricket. So obviously I'm very grateful for that mate that one day.
And do you think that's been to your advantage that you started quite late? Because obviously there'll be so many people in cricket who sort of start around 7 or 8 and they're maybe like pushed into it, and by the time they're 18 they've played sort of 10 years. So do you think that was your advantage?
I think so, yeah. As you say, I think a lot of kids, no matter what the sport, if it, not just cricket, football, rugby, whatever, when you get guys that have been in systems, been training, been playing since they were 6, 7, 8 years old, by the time they get to 15, 16, 17, a lot of guys can be burnt out by it. They're not enjoying it anymore. They're doing the same training over and over again that they've been doing for 10 years or whatever. And maybe if they're not quite sure if they're going to make it, the motivation might drop off. But as you say, I was literally learning everything as I went along. When I was 17, 18 at Essex, I could bowl fast, and that was literally it. I was having to learn how to control bowling fast, which took a long time. I had to learn how to bat. I had to learn how to field. I had to learn all these other things that, as I said, that all these other guys have been doing for so long. So for them, it's probably monotonous, but I was just enjoying it, and I had no. I wasn't thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to make it. I was just enjoying the process, really, and I always loved sport, and I was enjoying being able to train and play at proper facilities that we had at Chelmsford, and I was just enjoying it and just taking it as it came. I had no, I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to play for England or anything. I was just enjoying it and taking it as it came.
Yeah, and it's good as well that you were you said you were maybe bowling a few wides, no balls. You're sort of learning as you go along, but it's good that you were encouraged just to keep that pace up, because there could have been a coach that could have tried to get you to control your bowling more or something like that. So it's good that you were encouraged just to bowl as fast as you can, and you'll pick it up as you go along.
Yeah, it was something I always really tussled with, especially when I started playing first class cricket, playing 4-day cricket, and you need to you need to have control. And I was always tussling between trying to bowl maybe a little bit slower and control the ball, or swing it, or seam it, or whatever, or just run in and bowl as fast as I could. So it was always something that I struggled with. But you're right, going back to when I was younger, especially when I was kind of 15, 16, 17, really just playing club cricket or minor counties age group cricket, I was definitely encouraged just to bowl quick. I found a scorecard, I put them on my Instagram at the start of the summer. I think these 2 scorecards when I was playing for Suffolk as an under 16s or 17s, and I was bowled, double digit wides and no balls in these games. And I look back, I could barely remember the games, but I was always encouraged just to, bowl fast. And I was always given the opportunity to bowl. It wasn't like I was bowling a bad over and then that was it. I wouldn't bowl. I wouldn't play again for the rest of the day. So I have a lot of people to be thankful for that I was given a lot of opportunities, and people could obviously see that I had kind of talent that if I figured it out one day, I could potentially go on to make a living out of it.
And that's great, because that is a really progressive way of coaching. I think fast bowling is such a unique skill, and it's amazing that your coaches encouraged it and embraced it. And it worked because you were one of the fastest bowlers in English cricket. I mean, you still are. But at such a young age, you're one of the fastest bowlers and exciting players. And you're taking loads of wickets, you're doing really well. But then you had that really unfortunate incident where you had a strange sensation in your legs, and it transpired that you had a condition that almost forced your retirement. Could you tell us a little bit about that condition and that whole experience, really?
Yeah, look, it was pretty nasty. It started when I was maybe 21. I was at Essex. I was in my last year of my contract at Essex, and I was playing in the county. I was in the county championship team. Played a 4-day game. Hampshire, bowled really poorly. Got dropped from the team, sent to the second team, going bowl some overs. Just the normal stuff. I remember day one, I think I bowled maybe 15 or 16 overs before tea, but I was bowling really well. We bowled them out. We then batted for a bit that night. We then batted for maybe a session and a bit the next day. And then we came out and we bowled again. And I came in to open the bowling, and I hit the crease as soon as my front foot landed, and I went over. I had a huge shock all around my waist into my legs, like an electric shock. And my legs felt really weird, like pins and needles. So I walked back to my mark, felt weird, tried to run in. I couldn't really run in properly, kind of half bowled, and knew immediately something wasn't right. So my legs, they weren't really working properly. So I had, unfortunately, to leave the field. Physio did a few tests. I went down to do a squat, and I struggled to get back up. So for a little period of time, it was quite severe. And then it kind of came around quite quickly soon after, but I was still having pins and needles and weakness in my legs. And anyway, I went off to London, loads of tests. I said the legs kind of came back around a little bit, but had brain scans done, full spinal scans done. They only told me this once I got the all clear, but the doctor thought I might have kind of early stages of multiple sclerosis, because it looked like I had something on my spinal cord. But luckily, all the tests, I had a spinal tap done, which was pretty horrible, where they inject into your spinal cord and remove some of the fluid, but you have to be awake to do it and stuff. And that was all fun to go through. But anyway, all those tests came back negative, and then it was a case of just kind of trying to get back to play cricket, which I did. But in the meantime, my contract was expiring at Essex, and they weren't sure whether they're going to offer me a contract, so I've been injured. And so I started speaking to the counties. Sussex signed me, and I spent a full winter with them, got in really good shape, went on pre-season tour, played the first championship game. Everything went really well. Then we played the second game, and again, I bowled, that cut maybe 14, 15 overs by tea. One of our bowlers was sick, so we were a bowler down. And then again, I came out, bowled the first over after tea, hit the crease, bang, same feeling again. It wasn't quite as bad, but it was definitely the same thing. So that was twice that it happened properly. Again, I had all the tests done, all the scans done. And because it's, to do with your spinal cord and things like that, you have to be very conservative. And a couple of weeks later, after I'd had all these tests done again and meetings and etc., I sat down in the boardroom at Sussex and went through my options, and kind of retiring was an option, because obviously you're dealing with quite serious stuff. It was clear that it only ever happened when I was bowling a lot of overs. So the only real option I ever considered was playing T20 cricket, because obviously you're bowling less, aren't you? So I never considered the retirement, but at 22, it's never nice to hear. I remember having to go back to my flat after hearing it. They said obviously take a day or two, or speak to whoever you need to speak to, then kind of get back to us. So yeah, I went back to my flat that night in Brighton, and yeah, it wasn't the best day of my life, and just anyway, I had to go back to the club, sign waivers to say that the club had presented all the information correctly towards me, and pretty much so I couldn't sue them if the worst happened. And decided just to give T20s a crack, and obviously I'm glad I did, and I haven't looked back since I stopped bowling all those long spells. It hasn't happened again, so touch wood, that'll continue.
What was the actual diagnosis? Is it very complicated?
Yeah, so there's no I can't tell you I've got this, but for me, for kind of 2 vertebrae worth, it's in my thoracic spine. I can't remember exactly where it is. Mine's really compressed, so there's not much space for the spinal cord to move. Pair that with the fact that I'm hypermobile in my back, so there's a lot of movement going on, and pretty much the neurologist, they came to the conclusion that movement over and over and over again of bowling, a lot amount of overs, pretty much the spinal cord just kept getting more and more irritated, and eventually it would just kind of give up and and pretty much kind of short circuit. And then just happened to be that the part of the spinal cord where it was happening was the nerves go to your legs. So that's what happened. That's what he thinks caused what used to happen to me. But yeah, that was as good as they could kind of surmise from everything that they knew. And I've just kind of gone with that.
I think injuries at the best of times are quite mentally fatiguing, but for you it must have been even worse, because not only was it an injury that was keeping you away from playing cricket, which is what you wanted to do, but actually you were probably having fears about your sort of long-term health as well, when you weren't really sure what actually this injury was, or what was the impact of it was going to be.
This is a few years ago now. We're talking, how old am I? 28. So about 6 years ago it was now, 6 and a bit years ago. So I knew that if it happened again, I'd probably be done, which isn't a nice feeling, especially when you're 22, you're in and around the England side, you've got aspirations to play for England, you initially wanted to play Test cricket, now you want to play T20 cricket. So I knew that if it happened again, I'd be struggling. If I'm being completely honest, I didn't think too much about the worst case scenario, the fact that it could affect my ability to walk properly and things like that. That was the ultimate worst case scenario. I never really kind of maybe took it seriously enough, I think, luckily. So it didn't weigh down on me. I'm not going out like a hero and say that I fought back from the brink to do that mentally. But I was aware of the risks, but I just cracked on. I just got on with it. I just took it day by day. Unfortunately, I've been injured plenty even since then, just with normal injuries, stretch fractures, hamstrings, quad tears, the normal things. And unfortunately for me, it's become part of my life, and you've got no choice. So if you want to keep playing cricket, you got to just get on with it and do what you got to do to get back doing what you want to be doing most of the time.
Yeah, it's obviously not the best thing to go through, but in a way it sort of ended up being the £1 million injury, really, didn't it? Because it just allowed you to then go on and have this T20 career. So it's funny how things work out. Yeah, you're right. In a way, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it allowed me to purely focus on T20 cricket. I muddled through that summer, because obviously I had to have like 6 weeks out whilst we did all the tests and stuff. So then I came back in at the start of the T20 blast, and I wasn't really fit, and I picked up a few ankle niggles and stuff, but I did pretty well and muddled through that summer. And then that winter, the ECB were brilliant as well. Because obviously by then I was on their radar. I'd been on Lions tours and in and around England squad, so they helped me kind of alter my training, and pretty much just spent a whole winter just going on different bowling camps. Anything I went away with, like the England under-19s, even though I was too old, but just for a chance to get away and go to South Africa with them to train and to bowl and to get fit. And then came back that summer.
kind of really hit the ground running for Sussex, and then obviously made my England debut not long after. So yeah, I had a lot of help along the way, but yeah, you're right. Just being able to fully focus on T20 cricket, both mentally, physically, definitely accelerated my development no end.
We'll get on to the actual IPL in a minute, but one thing I want to ask you is, when it's coming up to the draft, that 2017 IPL, were your agent saying to you, for example, like, look, you might go for like quite a bit of money here, or did you have any idea at all? And what was it like when you'd found out that you went for over $1 million?
Yeah, so I knew. So basically, it was a perfect storm for me. I had a good summer for Sussex. I played for England. Then I went on my first ever kind of winter I got on the T20 circuit. I just put my name in for all the tournaments at pretty much the bottom money, just to get myself out there, get playing. So I went to Bangladesh, flew straight to New Zealand, played for the Auckland Aces, and then I was supposed to come home, but I managed to pick up 3 games for the Brisbane Heat in the Big Bash. Then I got picked to go to India to play against India in a 3-match T20 series, which was obviously just before the IPL auction. And I bowled really well in that series, in a quite high scoring series. I bowled pretty well, especially at the death. So that obviously helped. Then I flew to the PSL, and then literally the week before the auction, Mitchell Starc pulled out of the IPL. So RCB had a huge kind of hole to fill. They needed a bowler. They obviously had a big wad of cash available from his contract. So yeah, my agent the night before messaged me. He'd obviously spoken to all the teams, to all the coaches, the owners, the analysts, whoever he needed to speak to, and just gave me a little rundown team by team. This team, they don't need a bowler, so they're not interested. This team are interested, but they've only got this much left in the kitty. This team, blah, blah, blah. So I knew that kind of 4 or 5 teams were interested, and we knew it was going to be a decent day. And again, I was maybe a bit naive, but so Dan Vittori was the coach when I played those 3 games for the Brisbane Heat, and he was the RCB coach. And he messaged me the night before the auction saying, I hope you enjoy your big day tomorrow. And I didn't even think too much of it. But so anyway, I was in Dubai at the time. I was playing in the PSL, and the auction was on at like 7:30 in the morning. It was on TV. So I woke up, set my alarm, obviously woke up. You get the order through, so I knew I was on quite early in the draft, and watched the draft on TV. My best mate Krads, he was in the UK. He woke up at 4 in the morning. He couldn't get a stream of it at home, so he was FaceTiming me watching the TV. And then Stokesy was a few players before me, and he went for similar money to me, maybe a little bit more. And then obviously your name pops up on the screen, and then the bidding just starts. It was initially Mumbai and Kings 11 just kind of going back and forth, and it looked like I was going to Mumbai for, I think it was around 600,000 US. I think I've got it saved on the YouTube clip for my thing. I haven't watched it for a little while, but then RCB and KKR came in, and again the bidding kept going from there, and then obviously RCB ended up winning. But it was a surreal feeling watching it on TV, that's for sure.
It must have been just a crazy thing to experience, and especially when you think about how much money that is. Someone's willing to pay that for your services. It's crazy when you actually think about that. But also, it must have been such a nice moment when you think like a couple of years before you were close to retirement, and now you're one of the highest prices in the world, and you're one of the most sought after players in the world. Like, that's quite a nice moment to think, actually, it's all been worth it, all the work to get back fit again.
Yeah, it was nice. Obviously, I can't say anything other than it was great. As you say, to go from kind of almost retiring to that moment was, it's pretty surreal. And I don't come from any money either. Kind of raised by a single parent. We didn't have awful lot growing up, so it was nice to know that I could always help my mum out and things with anything that she needs. But it was also strange because that draft was in February. I was in the middle of a tournament. I was playing in the PSL, so I was playing with Luke Wright and Nathan McCullum in my team for Quetta Gladiators, and so I remember. So normally, also in the PSL that year, all teams were staying in the same hotel. So I didn't want to go for breakfast in the in the buffet where everybody would be, because obviously everybody's going to know. So we went somewhere else for breakfast, but they made sure I paid for breakfast that morning. But yeah, my phone obviously went ballistic. That whole next 24 hours, 48 hours a week, really. But yeah, I was still playing in the tournament. I still had to focus on what I was doing in that tournament, and then the IPL was still 2 months away, or however long it was. So it's a period of my life I'll never forget. And you probably won't ever experience that again either.
And actually, just the IPL itself, what is it like being a part of it? Because obviously, cricket is pretty famous in England, but in India, there's just so much more added pressure. They're like properly famous people, and you're now a part of that, playing in front of 80,000 fans. What's it actually like?
Oh, it's awesome. Look, it's one of my big regrets. It didn't go as well as what I wanted it to. I got injured after 5 games, I think. I kind of tweaked my hamstring, and I couldn't quite get back to play again. But I'm desperate to get back and play out there. It's unlike anything else in world cricket. Every game is sold out, from kind of 40 through to 80,000 people. It's an hour before the game. The ground is full of everybody wanting to be there. But it was also nice because in my team, obviously, we had Virat Kohli, Chris Gale, AB de Villiers, Shane Watson. So there's a lot of much bigger names than yourself. I wasn't feeling overawed by anything. The team were really good. I was under no pressure myself. I didn't feel like I had to perform because I'd gone for a certain price tag. But yeah, look, I want to get back out there. It didn't go as well as what I know it could have, and I still feel I can perform at that level now. But yeah, it's a brilliant tournament. It's a really, really brilliant tournament to be part of, both on and off the field. All the sponsors and media engagements you got to do, doing TV adverts. You get back from training and you're tired, but you've got to go film a shoot somewhere, and it's full on, but it's pretty cool. I can't lie.
Yeah, it seems insane. And you've actually played pretty much all over the world cricket. You've obviously played the Big Bash and the Pakistan Super League, as you've mentioned. And you're basically playing franchise cricket all around the world. What is franchise cricket like? Because for me, it must be weird, because you enter a dressing room with a whole load of people and players from different nationalities, different countries, and they don't know each other. So that must be quite weird. And how do you build an affinity with players that you've never played with before?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's tough, to be honest. It varies team to team. I think the most successful teams get those off the field bits right, because as you say, you can be literally flying in and together for 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, depending on kind of the length of the tournament. And as I said, the most successful teams, they find a way to build that actual sense of team in a short period of time, getting the guys to buy in, to the foreign guys to care about the local guys, to help out some of the local guys. Mickey Arthur, who was at the time, he was the Pakistan head coach. He was the head coach for Karachi Kings when I played for those guys in the PSL. And one of the first things he did is he pulled us overseas players just to the side one day. So look, I'm not worried about you guys. You'll do your thing on the field, training, etc. But if you can just find a young Pakistani bowler and just help him out, around training, around the games. If you can just give back something to the team, it will go a long way, in the wider kind of cricketing sense. So that's something that always stuck with me. But you're right. I think it's easy to be selfish in franchise cricket. Just fly in, do your 4 weeks, fly out. Not really care, just try and do your best with your cricket. But you've got to enjoy it. You've got to embrace your different cultures. You're playing, as you say, with guys all around the world. That winter that I spoke about, I said I flew from Bangladesh to New Zealand, to Australia, to India, to Dubai, and then back home, and then to India again. And that's so many different people, different cultures, different experiences you're having in a space of 6 months. So you'd be stupid not to take advantage of that and learn stuff. I know so much more about other cultures now than what I ever did before. And yeah, I enjoy it personally.
This new style of professional cricket, where you're essentially acting as a freelance cricketer, going around playing all the different T20 franchises, do you think that's something that, as time goes on, we'll see more younger kids doing?
It's obviously it's available now, but I've been very lucky. I kind of say I'm semi-freelance, because I've always had a base at Sussex. Sussex have been brilliant to me. So I'm contracted 12 months of the year with Sussex. So Sussex have to sign every competition I go to. I have to get Sussex to sign off. So if I've got an injury or a niggle, Sussex have every right to say, no, you're not going. And obviously I prioritise playing for Sussex in the Blast from June to August or whatever it is each year. So I've always got that base to fall back on. If I'm playing somewhere and I get injured, I come home and I've got the treatment from Sussex, whereas those freelance guys have to sort all that stuff out on their own. So it's difficult. Also, my decision was made for me because I was injured. I can't play 4-day cricket anymore, and I could maybe do 50 over cricket, but it just wasn't worth the risk. Whereas a lot of guys, they're making that decision that they don't want to anymore. So first of all, they'll have to take an initial pay cut because the counties obviously aren't going to pay them as much just to play T20 cricket. And then you got to back yourself. You got to gamble that you're going to pick up these contracts around the world. It's a very fickle world, franchise T20 cricket. You can be, flavour of the month 1 month, and then have a bad tournament, and then you get discarded very quickly. So you need to be prepared for that because it's not necessarily as easy or as glamorous as you might hope it to be a lot of the time, and you put yourself under financial and professional pressure.
I guess, yeah, that's so true, isn't it? Because on the outside, as a fan, you'll just look at, a franchise cricketer just gets to chase the sun and travel the world, getting paid to play cricket, which is the dream, really. But actually, there's quite a lot of uncertainty because you're going from contract to contract. You don't know where you're going to be based. You don't know which teams are going to bid for you. You could be anywhere, and you don't know when the next contract's coming either. So it must be quite mentally fatiguing in that sense as well.
Yeah, it can be. As I say, you spend now. Look, I don't want to say that I'm at all negative towards it. It's an excellent life. I've had some brilliant experiences, but there definitely are challenges. Like now, but when I was younger, it was the best ever. Single, flying around the world, doing what you want. It's awesome. But now I'm married. I've just had a daughter. So the next time I go away and play, I'll be kind of spending an extended time away from my daughter for the first time, and those are the type of things that definitely have a wear on you. They can come to certain places, but certain places they're not going to come with you. So you got to navigate your way around that. That's definitely it's going to be a new obstacle for me. But yeah, there's so many pros and they outweigh the cons, and it's you don't know how long it's going to last for. You get to 31, 2, 3, 4, then it's over. Then you're doing something else, aren't you? So you got to enjoy it. You got to throw yourself into it whilst you can, and make the most of it.
Yeah, it sounds like an incredible experience, and it does sound like you made the most of it for sure. But another big high in your career was playing for England. You obviously got selected to play against Sri Lanka in 2016 and then went on to play against India in 2017. So how did that actually come about, and what was it like playing for your national side?
Literally played for Sussex. First game got rained off, I think, and then we played that, now kind of infamous game against Somerset at Hove, and I got Gale out, and then that was because it was on Sky TV. It was very lucky that kind of shot me into the cricketing public eye. If that game wasn't on TV, things might have been completely different. That's with the way the broadcast is in England. Not every game you play in the Blast is on TV. So that being on TV, it being Chris Gale, it was very cold that night, and I'm pretty sure he'd flown in that morning. So I caught him at a very good time. But yeah, then from there, obviously, I played a few more good games for Sussex, and yeah, it was just a one-off T20 game for England against Sri Lanka at the time. England traditionally don't play a lot of T20 cricket, which they're playing a little bit more now as the lead up to back-to-back World Cups. But it was just a one-off T20, which obviously, so it was very short. I got called up to the squad. I think we had one training session 2 days before the game, and then we had a day off, and then played the T20. I got picked. I bowled pretty well. Didn't get a wicket, I think I only went for 21, I think. And then that was it that night. Drove back to Sussex. Then I think we had a game the next day or the day after for Sussex. So it was in and out. But then obviously when I went to India the following January, where it was, that was obviously a proper a tour and a real taste of the highest, opening the bowling against Virat Kohli. That was a proper kind of yardstick moment. Let's see where you're at. And again, I look back on those 3 games really fondly because, as I said, you don't know if you're going to get to that level again.
And that goes back to what you said before about having those successes that you can refer to in times of pressure. And obviously, if you're bowling and doing well against Virat Kohli, then that's something you can refer to all the time.
yeah, it's just good to see where you're at, isn't it? You want to play for England, you want to be good enough, but until you're actually there and, out in the middle, you don't know, do you? But, I look back and I'm really pleased with how I performed in those 3 games. And yeah, obviously it then kind of kicked on from there.
And obviously, as we spoke about before, you're sort of looking more towards the end of your career and things you're going to be doing after. You've obviously done a lot of media, but a thing we obviously want to talk about is your work with the Pace Journal. So you've just released a book today, haven't you?
Yeah, good timing. It literally, we dropped it this morning.
That's class. And then what's the sort of overall goal with that? Because I've been following the page for like years now. I think it's such a good page, but it's just interviewing fast bowlers about their mindset and their careers, really, isn't it?
Yeah, as such. So we're just started. So basically, Shabazz, he started the page a couple of years ago, and he wanted to give his story. So basically, he was like an up and coming fast bowler that he pretty much kind of defeated himself in his own mind. He had all the attributes, he had the pace, but he was, a perfectionist. He just wanted to train all the time and always change something, and he kind of defeated himself really and ended up flaming out of the game, unfortunately, and lost what he feels could potentially have been a really good career. So he started the page, I think, as a way just to try and help others not do the same thing that he did. And then it's obviously grown really big, especially in the subcontinent. And then I think he was looking for, a current player to partner with to kind of take the page to another level, give the page a bit more insight into professional sport, some credibility. And that's so kind of start of this year, he approached me and spoke to me about what the vision is, what the plan is, that introduced me to the team behind the scenes. And look, it's been something that I'm really, really pleased I got involved with. Actually, I've done a lot of media work over the last few years. I think I try to use my spare time, of which I have plenty, only playing T20 cricket, as productively as possible. But to have something, to have ownership of something that I'm actually part of now, to put my time in, put my effort in, and to grow and to hopefully help people and grow a business as such is something that I've really enjoyed, especially once lockdown hit this year and we weren't playing cricket for months. And then it actually gave me a chance to really kind of get involved and learn how an online business works, all the setting up all graphics, targeting posts, and there's so much to go into it. It's not just somebody on a phone pumping out a few Instagram clips. So yeah, we said we're now taking the business to a next stage, and we're actually starting to sell something for the first time. And Shabazz has taken a lot of time and written a book. Pretty much, it's not his story as such, but it's kind of the pitfalls and the lessons that can be learned. Because I've been lucky enough to become a professional cricketer. I don't want to say easily, because I've worked hard at it, but I didn't have to trial around for ages, go through different plug away and stuff. I got kind of spotted and scouted and fast tracked through a system. That's the fact. I had to put a lot of effort into it to make it work, but I kind of got a lot of help and a helping start, whereas a lot of others aren't out there, don't obviously have that opportunity, and they'll be dreaming of one day becoming a fast bowler for a professional team, or even just moving up the ranks in club cricket, going from being a third 11 player to a first 11 player. There's so many different levels, and hopefully the book that we've released today, it's all Shabazz's words, but it's got my blessing and it's got other blessings that we've showed it to, and hopefully it can just help not just fast bowlers but cricketers out there just make some smarter decisions. Pretty much not overthink things and play cricket. There's so many guys out there that don't actually play enough cricket. They're too busy focusing on training and tweaking and doing all those other bits, when really you need to go out there and you need to try and find out how to take wickets, score runs, take catches, because at the end of the day, that's what gets you noticed.
It sounds like a really great initiative. I think you've already got over 100,000 followers on Instagram, so it's already got a lot of traction. And with this book as well, hopefully it should be helping a lot of cricketers. And I think fast bowling in general has just got to be one of the most intriguing parts of cricket. I mean, I don't think there's anything quite like fast bowling in terms of getting fans excited. It really does get them away from the bar and into seats to watch like a great spell of fast bowling. So how does it actually feel being one of the fastest bowlers in the world and being at the top of your run and knowing that the other person at the other end might be a bit scared of you, and you can really impact someone in that way.
Yeah, look, cricket in general is a funny sport because more often than not, you have a bad day. You have more bad days than you have good days. You bowl more bad or average spells than you bowl good spells. But those days when everything's going right, it's almost euphoric. I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's why you play the game. It's why you keep coming back for those spells that you bowl, those matches where you genuinely feel untouchable. And yeah, I've been lucky to have plenty of those over my career where you're running in and you feel like $1 million. You feel like the batsman can't hit you. You feel like you're going to get them out every ball, or you feel like you're intimidating them. And it's those feelings that you might only have once every 10 games or whatever it is. And every so often you're not quite there and you're trying to find it, but it just keeps you coming back. And it's the same if you're a batter. That one big 100 you score, you'll remember that and how you felt. And it's a funny sport, cricket. As I say, you fail a lot more than you get it right, but when you get it right, it's an amazing feeling. And yeah, you just ride the wave as long as you can.
100%. Well, we both know from personal experience that cricket can be quite a horrible game. But mentally, what advice would you give sort of young players out there who are wanting to go on and do what you've done?
It's tricky because cricket's such a broad game. So it's not like football where it's 90 minutes on the same size pitch over and over again. Cricket's so variable, so many different things that goes on. But I always say to guys is find what you're good at and always remember what you're good at. If you have a strength, try and play to your strength as much as possible. Make your strength a super strength. That's something I always say to guys, kind of academy players and things that are trying to get into the first team or whatever level you are. Find what you're good at and experiment, and eventually you'll find, okay, I'm good at this, I can do this, and then make that really good. So then you've got a reason to get picked, to get in teams and the like. And then just always remember that when things are going bad, remember what you're good at. People always sweat the small stuff, sweat the negatives. And it's hard. You can't be perfect all the time. You can't always have this positive mental attitude that you're the best, and that when you're getting hit 666, you can't go, oh, yeah, I'm awesome, I'm going to do this. So it's tough sometimes, but you need to build up some resiliency and just focus as much as you can on the positives. Take some time as well. Sometimes you need to just take a breath in the middle of a game or whatever and just calm yourself down, or when you're reflecting, just try and find the positives. They're the big things, I think, mentally from my point of view, that you've got to try and crack.
It seems like that's always been a strong asset of yours. Like you've already mentioned today, that you didn't really feel pressure when you had that massive price tag on your back at the IPL. And I think you've talked about previously, when you're at the top of your run-up, you can sort of switch off and forget about all the external pressures. So do you think that mindset has helped you in your career?
Yeah, I think I'm very lucky. It's not something I think I've had to really work on. I think because I had success as a youngster, when I kind of burst onto the scene, it set me up well mentally for kind of the rest of my career, because you have success to draw upon, if that makes sense. You always know, I know that I'm good enough because I've done it and I did it early. So I was able to, as I say, draw upon that and then use that when times are bad. As you say, I feel I could, when I'm stood at the end of my run up, I could be in a park, I could be in front of 80,000 at Eden Gardens or anywhere in between, and I'd like to think I'm pretty good at staying grounded and staying the same. In fact, if anything, I'm the other way around, where I love the big crowds. I feed off it. I'm a bit of a showboat maybe. I enjoy the buzz and the big occasion. Sometimes it's a struggle for me to get up for it when you're playing in front of no crowd. Like we were this summer. Unfortunately, it was great that we were playing, but it's never the same when you're playing in an empty stadium. You want that buzz, that atmosphere, the fans, the crowd. It's, as I said, I've been lucky that I didn't have a lot of negative experiences when I was younger that kind of scarred me moving forward when I was then turned professional, I guess.
And talking of playing with no fans, I obviously follow you on Instagram and I've been following what you've been doing. And you're out is it in Dubai is it UKC? That looks really,
Yeah.
what's happening there?
Yeah, so very random. I got literally, I was on the golf course at the end of the season, and my agent texted me saying, "Oh, do you fancy going to Dubai for this indoor one-on-one cricket tournament?" He was like, "I don't have too much information at the moment, but are you available for this?" And then he sent me the dates. I was like, yeah, I kind of, yeah, sure, kind of whatever. Didn't really expect much of it. And then a few days later, like the official kind of, they sent us a pack through all the rules and how it was going to look. And yeah, it was actually really cool. It was much better run than I thought it was going to be. It was one of those things where you kind of anticipate showing up and it's a bit of a shit show. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear, but it was very well done. It was very professional. It was proper production. It was done at the Coca-Cola Arena in Dubai, which is, it's like the O2, whatever, and they built a proper kind of a cricket cage with proper like indoor cricket surface, and it was really good. It was taken really seriously. The guys, Kevin Peterson, Andre Russell, Chris Gale, Owen Morgan, proper names playing in it, and it was a shame there was no crowd there because. As I said, with it being an indoor arena, I think there could have been a really good atmosphere. So hopefully in the future series of it, which I know they're planning on filming, there'll be able to some crowd there, and they want to take it around the world as well. They can, because it's an indoor, all you need is an arena, so that you can do it at the O2. They want to take it to America, Australia, you can do it all around the world. But yeah, it was one-on-one cricket with just a couple of fielders. Quite funny, quite unique rules, and it took the guys a little bit of time to kind of find what the best tactics might be. But it was short, sharp, and yeah, it was interesting, and it was just another form of cricket, another form of entertainment to give a go. And I think it's being rolled out over Christmas. I know it's been put out on Star Sports in Asia. I'm not sure if anybody's got the broadcast rights for it over here, but hopefully they do. I'll be interested to see how it comes across on TV.
Yeah, sounds really interesting. We'll definitely keep an eye out for that one. But moving forward, you've obviously got quite a while left in your career, but after a career, I know you've got an interest in working in the media. Perhaps you seem to be on the radio or commentating quite frequently these days, and obviously you did sports journalism for a bit at uni. So is media work something you'd be interested in the future, do you think?
Yeah, I'd be stupid not to continue it. I think, as I said earlier, as soon as I retired from 50 over and 4-day cricket, I obviously realised that I had a lot more free time playing only T20 cricket. I'm not playing obviously 4-day games that last 5 days really once you travel and things like that. So I had a lot more free time, and kind of, as you said, I did sports journalism for uni until I ended up dropping out when cricket kind of took off. So yeah, I've always had an interest in that. I've always tried to dip my toe in. As any time I've gotten injured or I've had spare time, I've been straight onto my agent to get him to let companies know that I'm available. I'm looking for work. I'll travel around. I'll do commentary wherever I can. I've done some writing. So I've got a good relationship now with Sky on TV and with BBC for radio work. So I don't know exactly what I want to do full time once I retire, but I'd like to think I've made a good kind of start and put some feelers out in the media, and then with the stuff with Pace Journal as well, I think that will aid that. We're going to we have some quite big and exciting plans for the company, but with COVID this year, that's kind of put pay to a lot of it, because we're not able to we want to plan to do some more stuff face to face and on camera, but obviously we've not been able to get in front of players and things that we would have liked to this year. So hopefully in the future we can do that, and then I can work on presenting and interviewing a little bit more and do some other things. So yeah, again, during lockdown, I did some online courses with media guys, Mark Pugach and the like, to just work on a few bits and keep trying to improve and keep trying to keep kind of relationships going, because as you said, I don't know when I'm going to have to retire from playing cricket. I know my body's probably not got as long as what I would have wanted to. So you have to be ready for when that day comes one day or another.
Yeah, I guess it's worth building up all these skills, whether it's in the media, but also with your business as well. And it maybe your injuries early on in your career made you realise that actually you need to build these skills so you can prepare for a life outside of cricket once that day comes that you do need to retire. So it's all really good things to do. But maybe in the short term, what would you say are your ambitions for your cricketing career?
Yeah, I haven't played for England now for almost 3 years, and that I've only played 4 games for England, and I feel I'm good enough to play for England. even now. The one thing that's kind of kept me going every time I've gotten an injury, I've come back to the level that I previously was, or potentially even better. This summer, I felt I was bowling better than I ever have in terms of pace and control. So that's kind of keeping me going a little bit. I want to get back to playing, for England, to the IPL. I want to be playing in all these tournaments and performing at a high level. So I'm not a big goal setter at all. I've learned not to, because you end up disappointed a lot more of the time than probably you do the other way. But if I had to have a goal, I definitely want to play for England again in T20 cricket. So I'm 28 now, so I've still got hopefully some good years left in me. But yeah, that's if I had to give one goal, that's all I want. But ultimately, my only goal is to stay fit and to play cricket for a period of time, and then I hope that my performances on the field will then allow those other things to happen.
I think, as we've said, fast bowling is one of the most unique skills, and it's not something that you can really learn. Like you can either bowl really, really quick, or like you can't, and you can. And it must feel quite empowering to have that. But I was wondering how much notice you actually take of the actual pace you bowl at, and do you almost get a bit competitive with it sometimes? Like, say you see Jofra Archer bowl, oh, he's been clocked at 95 miles per hour. I need to get up to 96.
Yeah, a little bit. When we're obviously myself, Joff playing the same team at Sussex, obviously we don't see as much of Joff now. He's playing all forms for England, but yeah, you definitely say if we're coming off the field and we've played a TB game, you always want to have a look who's bowled quicker that game, and you have a bit of crack about it. We used to Joff's obviously put on a lot of pace as well in the last couple of years. When he first played for Sussex, he was a little bit slower, and we went for a little period where he never bowled 90 miles an hour on TV. So we always used to take the mick out of him, saying he hadn't hit the 90 mile an hour club. So at the time, we had like myself, Chris Jordan, who had bowled over 90 mile an hour, Ajmal Shazad, who had, when he played for England kind of a few years back. So we used to always egg him on a little bit. I think even Luke Wright had even hit 90 miles an hour, I think, in a game for England. But I think it might have been a bit of a typo on the screen. So Wrighty used to always take the mick out of Joff as well. But yeah, you have a bit of crack about it. You always want to be the fastest bowler on the field, definitely.
I've been listening to pods obviously before to get ready for this one. I know you're a big American sports fan, so you'll be watching the NFL.
Yeah,
let you get on.
Yeah, I've got an hour and 5 minutes. Yes, I've got to have dinner, bath the baby, and then I can do what I want then for the rest of the night, and I can watch the Raiders game in an hour and 5 minutes. So
priorities.
Perfect timing. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks. Mal. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Nice to meet you. Oh, meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks a lot.
All right, guys. Take care. All the best.
Cheers.
You too.
Cheers. Bye.